Bonjour, everyone. My name is Tamia James. I'm a UX designer with a passion for crafting intuitive and impactful experiences. In this talk, we'll explore how psychology, design, and behavioral science can be combined to build apps that users keep coming back to. So, what exactly does a UX designer do? Well, we focus on people. Our job is to not just understand what users want, but also what users need. Excuse me. And sometimes those two are completely different things. So here's what we'll be covering today. First, we'll talk about why user engagement is harder than ever to gain, and why quick fixes like dark patterns can actually hurt your app in the long run. Oh, yeah. Then we'll actually introduce the hug model, a behavioral science framework, and explain why certain people keep coming back to certain apps. Then we'll bring it all together with strategies you can use to create apps that build positive and lasting engagement, keeping your users at the center of your development process. So, right now, we live in a world where every app, every notification, every platform is competing for a tiny slice of your attention. And because of that, some companies some companies fall into a trap using shortcuts to grab engagement. But here's the problem. Those shortcuts usually come at the user's expense, and they're what we call dark patterns. So, I keep saying dark patterns, dark patterns, dark patterns. So, what do I mean by dark patterns? And no, I'm not saying some mysterious, mischievous villain origin story. No. I'm actually talking about sneaky tricks apps use to push users to make decisions they wouldn't normally make. So let's dive in. Let's get into forced continuity. You've probably seen these on apps or websites where there are free trials that turn into paid subscriptions. You download an app, and the only way to continue with the app is to start a 7-day free trial. And then after that, you have to pay $95.99 a month. The problem is that most people forget about the trial and ended up suddenly, with no warning, paying $95.99, and that's been taken out of your account. Then there's nagging. You've seen these as well. Constant pop ups pestering you to enable notifications or buy something. This can interrupt your user flow and cause user frustration. This also makes users less likely to trust your product in the long run just because of the annoyance. And then they'll end up just deleting the app. And that's something we definitely don't want. Okay. The next thing we have is hidden cost. These are surprise fees that only appear after checkout. Think about when you're trying to get that nice vacation that's in Italy and it only costs what, 1,300 euros for 5 nights. And then you're like, let me proceed with this checkout. And all of a sudden, you see a ridiculous amount of hidden fees. This destroys user trust. Users feel deceived, and most will abandon their cart instead of going through with the entire purchase. And again, that's something we don't want. Last but not least, Roach Motel. No, I'm not talking about roaches in a motel. I'm talking about super easy websites or apps that's super easy to sign up for, but nearly impossible to leave. You try to deactivate your account, and suddenly you're asked to write a 500 worded essay asking, why do you want to deactivate this account? And then the actual deactivation button is hidden in a tiny text that you can only see if you squint. And if you can't see it, I circled it. In this case, users feel stuck. Instead of building loyalty, it makes users want to run in the opposite direction, first chance they get. Again, by deleting the app or even reading the reviews before they even download it, and then not going through with the actual download. So, if dark patterns aren't the answer, then what is? So that's where the hook model comes in. The hook model was developed by Nir Eyal, an author, speaker, and investor known for his expertise in behavioral design and habit formation in his book, Hooked. It's one of the most useful frameworks for understanding how user habits are formed. It breaks down into 4 parts: trigger, action, rewards, and investments. Let's walk through each phase and with some real world examples. Trigger. This is the moment where users are reminded to act. Now, does anyone know Duolingo? Raise your hand. Oh, okay, I'm not the only one. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Well, if you don't know what Duolingo is, it's basically a gamified version of learning a language. It's amazing. Now, when I found out that I was giving a talk in Paris, I was so excited. I was like, of course, let me learn some French. And by doing so, I still, life can get in the way in your learning time. And so I missed some lessons. Sorry. So I'm going to show you some real notifications that Duolingo sent me to get me back on track. The first one: sorry to nag. I promise to remind you to practice your French. Got 3 minutes? Now, I didn't have 3 minutes, but I saw it and I was like, okay, I don't have it. I was busy. I'm so sorry. Ignore. Okay. Then I get another notification. Hi, it's Duo. I missed you. I'm trying to figure out, is this a person I'm speaking to now or okay. Says do you want to practice your French today? So, I was like, okay, if it misses me and it wants to talk to me, let me open it. Oh, excuse me. Hmm? Well, you saw the last one, my mistake. So it misses me, and I'm like, okay, let me open it. And so I practiced for a couple hours in the day, and then again, I missed a couple days. My bad again. And I get another notification. My goodness. Thank you. Seriously, Tamia James? Hold on. You're going to say my full name? My goodness. Wait. And then it says, you came back just to ghost me again? Hold on. When did I become the toxic person in Duo's life? I'm sure. What relationship am I in? Okay. But even though these are funny and witty, these are great examples of what triggers are. But Duo is not just the only app that shows a great example what triggers do. We also have Headspace. They send you gentle notifications reminding you to take a breath for 5 minutes and rest your mind. Spotify even does this, where they send a notification telling you a new app from Justin Bieber just dropped. That is what a trigger is. This is a little nudge that keeps your product top of mind. Now, let's talk about action. This is the behavior users take to move forward. The simplest step they can take after a trigger. For example, I did a personal redesign of a post button for Instagram. Why? Because I noticed that the original flow could could cause some user frustration. When I used it, even when even when I used it or my friends used it, I understood the mistake was when I posted a reel, I ended up posting a story by mistake, or if I posted a story, I posted a reel by mistake. And being that frustration, I didn't want to post at all. This made me not want to post at all. So I decided, if I was in this position, how would I make this simpler and more convenient for me or any user? So I decided to build a fab, a floating action button that just as creative, but gives the users convenience and impactfulness and uh, creativity, creativeness. Sorry. Another example of a great way to use action is Uber Eats. Anybody use Uber Eats? Because I know I do. Oh, 4 people. Okay. Well, they have a great they use action in a great way. Okay. The best example is if you're scrolling trying to get, the same thing you've probably ordered millions of times, like from, I don't know, Starbucks. Sorry, I am from LA. From a Starbucks or a cafe, and you want to reorder what you've always ordered all the time, instead of going through the hassle of scrolling through the app, picking your order, customizing your order, they came up with a little feature that says, "Order it again." That shows convenience. That shows they understand the human touch. So that's a great example of action. Now let's talk about rewards. Now, rewards are special. They give dopamine boosts that users feel good, that make users feel good. Bumble. I don't know if Bumble's out here. Is Bumble out here? I will not be opening that. Um, no, Bumble is a great example for rewards. Every swipe carries a possibility of a love match. You don't know when the next "it's a match" screen will appear. But its unpredictability gives the user a dopamine boost and keeps the user swiping. Another example is TikTok. Now, I swipe onto TikTok all the time, but the unpredictability of what kind of content comes next is very luring in any case, because you're trying to figure out, even though the algorithm is catered to you, you want to know what's next. So that's why you scroll hours on end. Lastly, is investments. This is the effort users put into your product that makes them more likely to come back. And here's the sorry. And here's the key. Investment isn't just about stickiness. It's about meaning. When users feel ownership in the product, they don't just use it. They start seeing it as a part of their essentials. Like Duolingo, you build a streak, you want to use it every day, you want to build that investment. Or Spotify, you building a playlist that's catering to you, and you listen to it throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. Or Instagram, you're building your personal brand, you're sharing funny videos with your friends. That's what investment is. So we put all of these models together, all these phases together. And as you can see, if you use them successfully, they kind of look like a loop. Now, let's bring everything together. How do you, as designers, developers, product thinkers, creators, build habit worthy products that people actually want to come back to? Here are some strategies to guide you. 1, start with real user motivation. If your trigger doesn't connect with something people already care about, it won't stick. Sensitive. Duolingo works because people genuinely want to learn. Spotify works because people genuinely want to have music in their lives. So ask yourself, what's the underlying motivation my app supports? And design everything that reinforces that. 2, make the action super simple. Simplicity is best. Every extra click, every extra scroll, every extra text that your user needs to fill out, it's friction. When you remove barriers, users are way more likely to act. So take a look at one of your products. Can you make the next step v- more of effortless? 3, reward with value, not tricks. Users should leave your product feeling good. That doesn't mean you have to gamify everything or you have to color everything or make a special character. It means that you give people something meaningful, whether it's a sense of progress, a sense of community, or a sense of creativity. Create your reward loop so people feel proud and empowered every time they open your app. 4, and finally, build a long-term investment. Give people reasons to invest in your product. Uploading photos, customizing profiles, building playlists, they start to see users start to see the product as a part of themselves. That's when your app shifts from just being an app to it being a part of their identity. And when you reach that point, users don't just stay, they start advocating for you. They become your marketers. So, we've talked about dark patterns, what ethically not to do. We've also broke down the hook model, how habits are formed and how to get users hooked. But here's the final question. What let's say let's say you've applied all these strategies and you've done them successfully. What happens if your users are overly stimulated and overly engaged? You might actually reach the point where you have too much engagement. It's important to remember that at the end of the day, you're building for humans. And as humans, we don't just need stimulation, we need a balance. As a developer, growth is the goal, more retention and more value. So, for example, TikTok. Does anyone use TikTok? Wow. It's just me. Wow. Has anyone scrolled on TikTok for more than an hour? Okay. 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 What about 2 hours? Okay. 5? Okay, it's not just me. I'm not telling on myself. Okay. This app is incredibly good, but also incredibly addicting. But they have acknowledged that their users are human. They introduce a simple notification or a video in between their content that reminds users to take a breath. You've been on for too long. Okay. This is a small feature, but it presents that they understand the human side of design. And I would say, if with any app you create or build, keep that in mind. Because at the end of the day, we're we want that. We want that balance of understanding humans and understanding what we want. An app that's not just successful for the business, but respectful of the people on the other side of the screen. So, So here's the big takeaway. Habits are powerful. Used responsibly, they can help people learn, grow, connect, and thrive. Used irresponsibly, they can frustrate or even exploit your users. As designers, as developers, as creators, we get to choose what side we're on. And if we design or develop, and if we design or develop with empathy, clarity, and meaning at the center, we don't just build apps people use, we build apps people love. Now, I hope you keep these strategies in mind while you're building and creating your next app. And I can't wait to download them. Merci.
So yeah, thank you very much for your talk. We're going to ask a few questions, both from ourselves and from the Slido. So I think one of my big questions with a lot of this stuff is obviously there's a lot that's very subjective about what some people consider like a little bit more over the line versus like okay.
Yeah.
How do you advise people who are building who like maybe their designers or their project managers have come up with an idea that they're like, I don't know about that. Um, how do you advise them to engage those people and talk about like what their concerns are?
Talk about what their concerns are.
Yeah, so like if basically if your designer or project manager
Mhm.
gives you a design that says and you're like, this seems kind of exploitive. Um,
Mhm.
do you have any advice on how to sort of push back on stuff like that?
Well, I think honestly, just be truthful in that. I would
Okay.
say just because at the end of the day, you're building you all have one goal
Mhm.
and to build successfully.
Yeah.
When you're on a team with anybody, I would say express yourself, of course, be like, this is exploiter, I put my foot down, It's more so the conversation needs to be, hey, I think that if we even started the user testing, I think that this can be probably harmful for our users.
Yeah.
And also, if they want this to happen, they need this feature to be done, you can have, a small user testing group and showcase how that can be addicting or how that can be harmful to a user,
Yeah, like
you know.
how is it how might it backfire?
Yeah, user testing is so important in a lot of cases. So I would say the next step, if nobody can come to a conclusion, is user testing.
Okay. That sounds good.
Mhm.
Josh, you want to ask one of the questions from the Slido?
Yeah, we got a few questions here. So the first one, well, isn't actually a question; it's more of a statement. But I'm going to turn it into a question for you.
Okay.
How is dopamine not a dark pattern?
Dopamine, not a dark
Like,
pattern?
yeah, like the dopamine rewards.
Well, I mean, are you saying like the free like this
It
is
can be a
not
little
your
addicting.
question,
Yeah, I think it's
but
because they can be a little addicting and turn down and turn users like.
if you think about it, people that run, they have a certain
Mhm.
dopamine and they in certain cases, a lot of things can be like running can be addicting, fitness can be addicting, or dressing, going shopping and everything else. Those things can be addicting as well. It's all about, you know, um, understanding that a lot of things can cause an issue and honestly building for that. Um, it's not a dark pattern because any app has a dopamine concept to it. Yeah.
So it's just if you exploit it in a negative way.
If you exploit it in a negative way, if you see the retention, if you actually do, research, your user research on what your users are actually doing and actually, um, using in the app and you're not doing anything about it or even reading the reviews. I've seen a lot of companies has changed a lot just by hearing the reviews and or hearing what users are saying, or even if they make fun of like, "Oh my gosh," like even with TikTok, "Oh my goodness, like I've been on this app for 10 hours. I haven't done anything productive." They heard that and they were like, "Okay, let's put in a system." Even though sometimes it can be small and you want that user engagement, the process of understanding people have lives and people need that break and that reminder to take that break is important.
Perfect. Do we have time for one more still?
Yeah, why don't you
Okay.
go ahead.
What is the fine line between negging and still promoting your product? How does Duolingo's notifications differ between those?
Um, well, that's when when your user flow is not like getting messed up. If you're just like kind of how I tried to showcase in the in my presentation where you have the notification pop up. You say okay or you've done that. Okay, cool. Let them use the app. Let them be into the app and then you can put in another.
Is that a sign?
We got it. Okay.
It said get off the stage.
All right. Please give a hand to Tamia James.